So again, this is the existing site plan, 100,000 square feet, and this is our proposed concept plan that we want to share with you this evening. Yeah, there was no drum roll. This is the plan as we'd like to present it to you, and we are looking at a few options, but a couple things I'd like to point out, because I'm very excited about this plan. I think it is a plan for the future 30 years, at least, of the community. And the reason I think this plan will work well are a couple of things. First of all, I just want to start with the courtyard space. This is the existing courtyard space, and you'll notice that we have removed the food store building as well as a portion of the office and retail that is immediately attached to that food store building. We have located a very small jewel-like retailer, maybe a florist or something like that, that'd be attractive within a park setting in the front and center at the courtyard. And we think that opening up the courtyard in this way will make it more embracing and allow for more visibility and more access. Continuing along, I'd like just to walk you all the way along the path here, the pedestrian path. We think this will be a very walkable plan. The use of materials, sidewalks, landscaping, and hardscaping will encourage people to walk from one place to the other. We have 2 residential buildings that we are proposing. It's approximately 200 units in those 2 buildings. They are 4 stories, and they sit above parking as required for those buildings. So we actually have quite a bit less parking. There's 130 cars here, and elsewhere we've scattered parking on the site so that we have approximately 500 cars on the entire site. But this very walkable environment will be one that is accentuated by umbrella tables and chairs and outdoor seating. There's a new public open space here, which is almost as large as the courtyard space there. And as you continue along, we're looking at a bank space, possibly the Columbia Bank relocated in a brand new building, as well as a new 2-story building that anchors the opposite end. Now this is where the Produce Galore store space is currently. We're proposing to put a 2nd story on that building, add additional office space above it, and hopefully have a food market occur in that space. We need a larger, deeper footprint for a food store or any viable larger retailer, and we think this is a great location for that. So whether that's David's or someone else, we don't know, but we think that a plan like this would enable that type of thing to happen. As you continue along, there's additional walkway and cobblestone paved space that would continue the walk back towards the courtyard space. We think that this location, approximately where the existing gas station is, would be a drugstore space, possibly, or other retailer. That type of a user, if we can attract them here, requires some visibility from the street. We think that that would be a location where we may be able to make a deal for that type of tenant. So, this is going to be a very walkable environment. There's a pathway that cuts through this parking lot. We've tried to make the parking convenient and accessible, but reducing the overall size of the parking lot field that's there today.
Just to clarify, just at the numbers. When Bryce said there'd be 500 parking spaces, that includes what's underneath the platform. What's at surface is about 300 and change versus what has now about 460 and change. So the amount of park paved area is reduced than what's there today, plus additional landscaping, correct?
Correct. So we have approximately 200 spaces below the residential buildings and 300 and change on the surface lots. I'm going to go to zoom in just a little bit on another view of this site plan. You'll see a different color paving here, which Tom Repsher is going to talk about in a moment, and that's a new type of pavement, a pervious type pavement that we are required to have some of the new Maryland stormwater regulations. But additionally on this plan, you'll see that we've added bike racks in a couple of locations where we think would be appropriate, spread out across the site. The bus stop we have located here, just off of Twin Rivers Road. We think that identity is going to be important to make this a vibrant, successful retail and commercial facility. In order to make that happen, I'd like to see a small monument sign here in Twin Rivers Road so that you actually know where the entranceway is to the development. As well as, I'd love to give these retailers a better chance back here in the courtyard with a tenant directory that just lists who's back there, so when you walk by, you would know. I think this is a really important aspect of retail, successful retail developments, and that is that you're able to drive by, walk by, and see what's there. And it doesn't mean that it all has to be completely spread out in an uninteresting configuration. But if you look at the new retail formats that are working today, they tend to be streets that you can actually drive down and get an idea. And even though you may not be able to park right in front of the store, you can drive and look and view those and know that you may want to come back later. This space, we think, could be very well programmed for evening events. We will have a better opportunity to do that type of thing. It can be evening concerts, bands, some of which have certainly happened already here. But I think that it's going to be even more available because we'll have some more flexibility in the space. It'll be a little bit larger. Evening movies have been very popular in a lot of places, of course.
Bryce, the one thing I want to stress in what we think about the existing courtyard, which I heard loud and clear we wanted to retain, the community wanted to retain, was to get more life into that courtyard. That courtyard we see its success will go directly to the type of retail mix we're able to attract to get into some of those retail. Many of the retailers will retain and will stay there, but there will be opportunities to add some additional retail, especially at the corner, and we really want a lot more outdoor seating, more activity, so those restaurants bleed out into the courtyard. So there's seating out there, there's umbrellas, there's activity. Even onto the second public space, it's important to have a user there and not to put a retailer in those spaces that will not capitalize on the opportunity of using the plaza for outdoor eating, gathering, participating in things. That as people drive through. And the other component that I wanted to at least stress was by opening up and actually visually seeing inside the courtyard and the road network from Twin Rivers. Bryce, if you hit the parking field below in front of Slayton House and the swim center, we really have isolated a much better concentrated parking field that CA and the village board stressed to us through the process that we needed a better concentrated parking area to support the Slayton House and the tennis courts. And we've got about, in a parking count, combination of my property and CA's property of about 135 cars there. So there's a real solid mass of parking that is better configured than it is today, being spread all out throughout the property.
And the access to that parking is much improved with the connection straight through from Twin Rivers back to that parking lot.